which I'm not going to do the 2-second stop because I did it in the last episode and then I did never mind. Yeah, anyway, I have with me, of course, Paul, who is a tech journal. He knows everything. We're going to ask you all the hard questions today. But then again, we have Kalyan from IBM who's going to get the harder questions.
Thanks all.
Because just before the show, we were saying, right, what if we ask Paul a question and then he's like, no, maybe you can ask Kalyan. So we'll just go around in this, what do you think? No, but what do you think? But what do you think? Because I agree with what you think. Yeah, so this is going to be pretty much the conversation today. So get ready for it. Okay, so very quickly, do you think that AI is going to replace your job?
I think it's going to replace quite a few jobs.
Okay, but is it going to replace your job?
It might replace my job.
Really? Why? Tell me.
I think when AI first came out, honestly, I was worried, right? So I was one of the first to log in to figure out what this AI stuff was.
Okay.
Because I do, most of my work involves writing, right? So can AI replace me in writing content? And it looks to be pretty good at generating content. I was really worried for the first few months.
Okay. And what made you less worried, Paul?
I figured that, so from my point of view, right, what AI did is that it allows even poor writers to write at a pretty average level.
Yeah, because that's what all the kids are doing in school now, right? You're going to ask ChatGPT to write your essays for you, and then I'll just maybe make a little bit of an edit here and there, right? So it's embracing it, but also then how do you be better, right?
Yeah.
How that creative element, which you need.
I think that is a problem for the teachers to face, right? Because without putting all the initial how are you going to be better, right? So that is the problem. I don't envy the teachers that.
Maybe it's also a different way of testing our children, right?
Absolutely.
It could be not just about essays. So even as a journalist, right? You do need all the human factors, right? The creativity, the ability to diagnose, to think, to link issues together, to have compassion in the way you write and stuff. So I'm sure that made you less worried about.
For sure, I think, if I see it this way, right, basically what AI did was that it raised the level of writing competency.
Yeah.
But, I might be better than the average. But guess what? The gap has narrowed significantly.
Right.
So the question is, at which point do I become replaceable? And that was the question I've been asking myself.
Okay. Is that a question that you're still asking?
I am, because
okay.
I think AI has come upon us quite quickly. If you think about it, ChatGPT came, AI development has been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
Right, but ChatGPT only came out in November last year.
Yes.
As of right now, it's less than 1 year.
Yeah.
And it has made, even in this short period of time, it has made significant strides in terms of the features and capabilities. I think it's something worth thinking about for all of us, in fact.
Kalyan, do you think AI will replace your job?
No.
Wow, I like that confidence. After that, I'm going to ask you about me, but never mind. Let's hear from you first. Why?
Because.
So tell us a little bit what you do and why it won't replace your job.
So I'm a chief technology officer for the ASEAN ZK region.
Okay, he's definitely not going to replace your job.
No, I think every job is going to be impacted.
Yeah.
I think there should be no ambiguity about that. But I think it's a question of what changes and how it changes.
Okay.
For example, in my job, there are a number of things I do which potentially can be a lot more faster, productive.
Right.
But there are things that I do which can't be replaced.
Right.
I make judgments.
Yes.
For example, I build teams, I hire people, I work with customers.
Yeah.
Some of these can't be replaced. So anything that's oriented with human values, goals, I think that should not be replaced and will not be replaced, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's one thing. And the second thing is all about, it's not the first time we're coming across a set of technologies that has raised these questions.
And IBM has been at the forefront of this for a very long time.
And it's about evolving, getting more productive by leveraging technology effectively. So for that reason, I would say most of the jobs, I don't think it'll change.
You said most of the jobs. How about my job? Do you think that AI will replace me? Better give me the right answer, huh? Both of you. If not, I'm out of here. No, I'm just kidding. So what do you think? Do you think presenters or, I don't just do presenting, but anyway, just as presenter, do you think AI will replace my job?
I think my view of your job.
Yes.
There are a couple of elements that you bring to the table. Obviously, you're delivering a message, you're asking questions, but that's shaped by your experiences in your journey as an individual, in the various roles you've done. That what creates a unique perspective that you bring in your questions or interactions. That's never going to change.
Oh, there's a tear. Anything you want, just that's the menu. Bring the menu. Anything you want. Let me know. You know, coffee's on oh, it's free. Sorry. but I know what you mean, though. I mean, I think it's that human touch and that human experience. And I think for many jobs, you need that, especially managing people,
Right.
interacting with people, communicating.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm sure it'll get really good to some point, and it'll keep getting better. But I always believe in that human connection.
Absolutely.
Paul, what do you think? Well, in your opinion?
I mean, absolutely agree on the human aspect because there are some things that I cannot replace. I think the question to most of us
Sorry, and should not replace.
And should not replace, yes.
Okay, so there are different things, right? Cannot and should not. So, but I think the question really is, you know, as AI comes upon us, is to me it's the speed and pace that it's coming. I think it behooves upon us to sit back and think about it. I mean, for you, Kalyan, you think about it all the time, every day, I'm sure. But I think it is the man on the street that we really need to think about how can we, you know, put in the human element, to put the unique human viewpoint, the human experience, decision making. You know, how do we bring that to the table in our jobs, you know, that it becomes not replaceable.
I want to follow on two things here that you said. One, you talked about like the man on the street, because that's very important. I think a lot of people are very genuinely concerned, and they should be. We all should be, right? About AI kind of replacing our jobs,
Right.
even though, like we talked about, the human element still being very strong and very necessary, right? So, like, just to all of us, right? Every individual out there, in terms of worrying about AI replacing your jobs, what is the kind of mindset that we should have towards this? I want to follow up on that, and also want to talk also to Kalyan about the idea of should not replace, because I think that's very interesting. So maybe the both of you want to talk about, like, what is the message to the this is Wendy. No, it's okay. It's you. Why don't you answer?
I'll start off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the macro view, then let's get back into specific individual views. As a country, I'm sure we want to grow our GDP.
Yes.
There are only two paths to GDP growth: size of population, productivity of population. There's only limit, the certain limit that we can house in our small island.
Yes.
So obviously we're going to make our people more
Spoken like a true politician. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, you're not in politics. Sorry. Yeah, please.
Maybe got chance. Huh?
Yeah, maybe got chance. Hint, yes.
But jokes aside, we have to figure out how do we grow as a society to help all of society better.
Yes.
Which means we need to figure out how to get more productive.
Yes.
It's not a should we not. It's an imperative that we need to figure out how to leverage, harness it in a safe manner. Now, taking that to a more individual perspective, all of us have tasks that we do on a daily basis that are mundane, that potentially could be automated, that could make us smarter, right?
Like brushing my teeth, yes. I'm sorry, Please
there are AI-enabled toothbrushes now.
Yeah.
That's a different conversation. But for example, when you let's say you have a kid, and if the AI assistant can help you figure out what's going on with the kid, or what is the latest and the greatest.
What are the emotional needs or certain needs?
Anything that make you
well, maybe not emotional needs, but certain needs, like the cries, right? But this cry, what does it signify? Things
simple
like that.
things, right? It's about how do we help you be a better person?
Be more productive?
Be more proactive. How do we help you be a better professional? Be more proactive.
Okay.
It's about figuring that out. And that's not going to happen by itself. There's a lot of education that's required. And there's a lot of enablement that's required from a policy perspective, from a society perspective, that we need to enable this, right? Otherwise, for example, if a mundane task can be done by an automated bot, we also got to work on ensuring that the person that was doing it, we equip the person with new skills, that the person can leverage that bot and do higher value-added tasks.
Yes.
Right? So it's an evolution, if you will.
Right.
And that needs investment, that needs policies, that needs education, a whole lot.
So maybe don't think about will AI replace my job, but think about, like, how can I be more productive with AI?
Yeah.
What can I do to kind of, maybe things that I've not wanted to have done before?
Right.
And can I be more productive because I can now focus on these other things?
Exactly.
And do my job better.
Yes.
So we talked about the whole redesigning thing, and sometimes it can come across as a replacement, but maybe not as a replacement, but as an add-on.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Paul, what do you think?
I think you said it right. I mean, AI will replace a lot of the mundane, the repetitive stuff. My poser to that is this, right? what is mundane might change with AI.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you a couple of examples. Like ChatGPT just released a new release announcement this week.
Yes.
Right? I was just going through the changes, and one of them is this feature called text to voice, TTS, right?
Yes.
And looking at this, hearing the samples is actually astounding, right? It sounded, I mean, I'm not an audiobook person, right?
Yeah.
But I could listen to this voice the whole day.
Yeah.
The enunciation is really, really good, and you have different options to choose from, right? Now, my thinking is, if today you're an audiobook narrator, you might be in problem because
Yes.
what used to be a specialist job
Yeah.
now is considered repetitive.
Correct.
So my take is this, right? And we don't really know what will come next. I mean, not the man on the street. Maybe someone like yourself, you can see what's coming. But for the rest of the man on the street, I would suggest that perhaps one way to prepare for that would be to ensure that we are multi-skilled. I mean,
Okay.
yes, human elements, yes, things
Yeah.
that cannot be replaced, your experience, your stuff like that, right? But above and beyond that, make sure that you're not just skilled in only one niche area.
And you can do many things.
Make sure you can do many things, but proviso, right? Don't be a jack of all trades, right? Do a few things really well. Even better if you could somehow combine them together.
Like draw a thread within
I
all
don't
of
know,
them.
if you could sing, try dancing, right? Dance
Yeah.
and sing at the same
Play
time.
an instrument. Yes.
Right? Or maybe juggle something at the same time while you sing and dance.
You sound like a TikTok star, Paul.
So I think that the long and short of it is this. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But I would suggest that all of us take a step back and think carefully, right? In terms of your work role, in terms of your skills, how can you enhance it, right? How can you develop new skills? Sign up for a skills future course.
Oh, wow, that's very good advertising right there.
They should pay us for that, right?
Yeah, they should pay us for that, right? I quote Paul. Hint, hint. I like that because I think we've gone from the do one thing only and just do it well. I think, and the whole world has subscribed to that for so long. But I honestly think it's so nice to be able to do like different things. And like you said, thread them all together. Do they link? Do they have a purpose? And this will help you, right? Because you can then say that, okay, maybe this part of thing that I could do, maybe parts of AI could come in and replace it or do it better or do it significantly better than I have. But I have all these other skills that will complement it.
I mean, if I may interject, right? I mean, when we look at it, you say, yeah, okay, maybe those low-level skills can, I'm very specialist and very niche area. I don't have to worry. But may I suggest to you, I mean, just this week I read on Twitter, someone from one of the big tech companies got retrenched, and he basically tweeted, say, I'm looking for a new job. Now, what does this guy do? Now, he's a top specialist in finding bugs in software.
Oh.
Right? So he's not your typical university graduate. He's someone who is specialist and has been very, very good. He has a huge list of, they call it CVE, I believe, right, that he has discovered. And so when people ask him, say, hey, why are you looking for a job? He said, well, looks like they managed to train an AI model to replace me. Right? They got enough data points, and now they're confident of doing it without me.
So, I mean, obviously you look at the skills that are going to be that requires a lot of human interaction. I would say that maybe AI can help to, help you to focus more on, or rather you could focus more on that aspect of it, which kind of links me to what you said about should not replace, right? And this is really important because humans create the AI.
Right.
We create that AI. We create the technology for AI, right? Or of AI.
Right.
How do you deal with it? How, as a company or even as a CTO, where do you draw the line into should not replace?
Right. So maybe just a little bit of background to how some of this construction is happening, and then I'll come back to the
Yeah, please.
So right now we're at a place where AI can create AI models.
Okay.
So that's a significantly progressive thing that's happening. Now the challenge is, it's not about creating the models. It's also about how do you train them, how do they behave, are they behaving properly for a longer period of time?
The data that is input.
The data is important, but also much like a person that learns, you might learn something, but that might change over a period of time. So you've got to ensure it's behaving properly in the long run. So that's just to understand some of the risks that in evolution of a model that might happen. But we also, as a society, and as an enterprise, we need to have a charter and be very clear about what is that we want, what task will we allow AI to do, and which ones we will not. I'll give you a simple example. We use AI models to detect credit card fraud. It's been going on for years.
Okay.
It's been going on for years. There's mechanism of fault, which is false positives, all that exists. Now, can I potentially take a similar approach and look at a grant for a person who's applying for money from the government, for example? So can I potentially automate that task? I could.
But you should.
So that's a place where I think we should not.
Yes.
Because you're making
course.
a judgment or an assessment for a person's needs.
Yeah, and that includes a lot of biases and
Yes.
unconscious biases.
The model could have bias, the person could have bias.
Yes.
Right? So that's where I would say argument, where you let the model come and help you make a better decision.
Right.
Gather all the information, because there could be fraud in this space as well.
Yes, because people have biases as well.
Yeah. So use the model to help you make better decisions. So
okay.
you got to be clear as you go forward, as you think about automation, as you think about where to apply AI. There has to be a clear model of code in terms of where will we use AI, where we will not use AI. And as automation happens, we also got to have a checkpoints within the automation to ensure we're actually complying to what we said we will do. For example, somebody could implement a simple business process using technology, might do this automatically, and that goes into production, might start getting used, right?
Yeah.
So there got to be new kinds of checkpoints to ensure we adhere to the code we signed up to, and the models are performing without bias, without other issues on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
I think that's an entirely different set of muscles, policies, processes we need to develop.
Wow, because I feel like we're going into the space of like number two things. One is ethics, and two is regulation. Wow, so many things to talk about. Okay. Let's talk about regulation first. Okay, so because it's ever changing, it's very complex, right? It's always moving.
Right.
Even the legislation that you create can become obsolete. So what do we do about that? I mean, because at some point in time, we have to throw in the AI Verify Foundation into this whole conversation. So maybe we'll just start now. What do we do? What is our answer to this?
I think you're an expert on that.
Wow, Paul, you're very good at
I was just trying to pass it along.
just like pull the arrow. Wow,
do it before you do it.
Really, I feel like what I said in the beginning is really starting to come true. But what do you think? I mean, what do you think? Because you work a lot with the government, because IBM has really contributed to the AI Verify Foundation, right? So how does this work?
So we work with Verify Foundation, we work with MAS, and we contributed toolkits like how do we test a model is fair? We created an asset for it, IBM AI Fairness 360. We also contributed assets like how do we test how robust is the model? Does it deal with different scenarios well? Does it deal with adversarial scenarios better, and so on, right? So there's a lot of work that we're doing in that space. And I must say, this is a constantly evolving space. Which also means we got to constantly evolve our toolkits, like what we contributed. We're doing a whole lot more. For example, we started publishing something called AI forensics to figure out what is real, what's not real, and so on. So there's going to be a continuous train of new innovations and capabilities in this space. The challenge for regulators, the challenge for governments is to figure out how much to do and when to do. Okay, can you tell us a little bit more? There's never going to be a clear answer. As you recently heard, there was a UK hosted AI safety, right? Yes. So obviously Singapore will be doing a lot in that space. We are seen as a standout with AI Verify Foundation and what Amazing the Veritas. So what we need to do is that we need to have an open dialogue, be open with the risks that we emerging risks on the horizon, and start building a framework of safety nets, be it regulations, be it policies, be it rules. It is going to be a constant evolution for the next foreseeable future.
Wow. And so obviously you need good people to kind of oversee all this. So, please continue to hire good people at IBM with good values and good ethics as well, because this is very important. I mean, because we laugh about it, but you talk about biases in AI as well, right? It's who you hire, right? So, for example, in gender biases as well, right? It's having, for example, women in STEM, right? To make sure that they are also a part of the training the AI.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a very good point. And it's diversity, And also diversity also evolves.
Yes, that's true. Yes, inclusion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because at some point in time, we thought of certain kind of diversity as something we ought to recognize.
Yes.
As we've seen in the last 10, 15 years.
Yes,
that also
absolutely.
has evolved, right?
That has evolved as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's so many areas because, and then even in the ethics space, right? I mean, maybe I know both of y'all work on it as well. In the ethics space, because you're talking about fallibility, you're talking about biases, data privacy, and something that's I think related to this world and the fact that we are with Tech 360 TV is content creator credit. Right, I mean, there's a big conversation around it. Paul, what do you think?
I mean, if I may just take one step back and we talk about bias and ethics, and
Yes.
I think somehow, anybody, I mean, someone who's not working in AI might just look at it and say, yeah, okay, bias and ethics, so what does it matter with me? But I would suggest that a lot of ethical and issues, a lot of bias is invisible.
Yes.
Right, it is there, but you don't realize it. So,
Yes.
for example, right, I've been trying to play around with ChatGPT to create some images for some of my LinkedIn posts, right? And guess what, right? If you ask it to create certain kind of, let's say, a image of a board meeting, right? Chances are you might have more gentlemen than ladies.
Yes, exactly.
And or you have some pictures of some scientists.
Although
as you
that's
said.
actually not wrong at this point in time. And that's why that's very important because what you see in the world, what you see on the media, what you see on images actually will reflect parallel real life. So you're absolutely right.
So in a way, AI is not wrong, but is that the future that we want
Yes.
in terms of a model? And what if this model is used to make certain decisions, right?
Yes,
And
correct.
that is going to skew things. And this is
Yep.
the danger, and which is, I think, why we need to have a framework to really to nip the bias problem in the bud, right? To settle it, to solve it early, rather than have it propagate down. And 3 generations of models later, you are using this model to do certain critical decisions, but there's embedded bias and you don't even know about it.
Yeah.
Right. Now, also, maybe just if we may add, we make a very important point there. The bias could be introduced at the source, but as we've seen, it also could evolve.
Yeah.
We've seen some visible failures in the space where a bot, when started, was a good bot.
Bad one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's something I think is perhaps less appreciated,
Yeah.
and that needs. And also, there's a bit of change in the investment mentality. For example, when you think about an IT investment, people think about we're going to spend X amount of money to build it,
Yeah.
and usually a much smaller sum of money to maintain it. In this kind of space, now it's an ongoing management of the model. Your investment mentality or how you fund things also has to evolve. May not be the first problem to be solving, but also if you don't do it, you're leaving that out there without any significant oversight.
Yeah.
That's going to go into spaces that Paul just talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many issues around it, right? And we talk about, like I was talking about, like, content and creator, and there's so many deep fakes out there, right? So it can be used for good, right? Obviously, it can be used to enhance, to complement, to hopefully bring the world together, but it can also be used for bad,
Yeah.
right? And we can see that happening
Already.
even now. We've got the audio scams, video scams. I mean, the deep fakes are very, very real.
Yeah.
Especially. So how do we protect consumers? How do we protect people in general? What is your take on this?
So,
Well,
I'll,
I say
Paul,
there's
you look like you have
there's
something burning
I
that you
want
want
to
to
say.
say.
There's no simple answer
Yes,
to that. Right?
absolutely.
I think this one you say as well.
yes.
You want to carry on?
No, please.
Hey, Paul, you're so polite.
I think there's no simple answer to that, and I think it goes back to what we said just now, right? This is a
Yeah.
evolving field. This is moving very, very quickly, and in some ways, some people are I mean, talk to the man on the street. Some of them might not, AI what, right?
Yeah.
But it's real. It's really here and it's present, right? So
I guess some of it is invisible as well because AI has always been there. It's just
Yeah.
that it works behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's really up to us to. It's almost like building the car while it's being driven, right? I think we. But the key thing I think really is that we need to be We need to move, get started somewhere, right? I think government has to put in rules and regulations because at the end of the day, I mean, it is at a stage where the industry might not necessarily govern itself the best way for the best benefits, right? So I think really we need to look at regulations, and this is a place where we can't really afford to wait 3 years for the first regulation to come out. We need to move much faster than that.
And sorry, Kalyan, please, you're going to say something.
It's just to add a couple things. One is obviously we've got to educate our citizens
Right.
to understand the possibilities of what in piece of information is could be fake, could be wrong, could
Yeah.
be created, right? So I think there's generally speaking, there's a lot more education, a lot more awareness that we need to create within our population.
Yeah.
That's one bit. The second is we also got to enable our technologists to understand this better, because there are technologies that apply technology, may not necessarily see all the risk involved, right? That's the second bit. And the third bit is the regulations, but equally importantly, the right investments.
Okay.
So I think there's a multi-layered puzzle, as Paul pointed out. There's a lot to be done here, though.
Where do we start? I mean, we talk about regulation that may become obsolete. So it's like you said, actually what you said, Paul, and it's true, you're building a car as you're driving it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're kind of trying to put the parts together, right? Are you worried?
Maybe
you look slightly worried.
Maybe a better analogy is that the plane is flying and you're trying to rebuild it. Right? Because if you rebuild it wrong, it can be quite bad.
Okay, that's a very scary scenario. It's like anybody...
When you said that, I was thinking plane.
Oh, you're saying
there
plane.
you go,
Oh,
plane.
both of you all? Yeah. So I'm a bit worried. Okay, so I'm a bit worried now because, I mean, obviously you work behind the scenes, so you know kind of so many issues that go
Right.
behind it, right? So should we generally be very concerned? And I mean, we don't want to start any sort of, people worrying unnecessarily, but like how much should we worry? How much should we worry? What should we do? Where should we?
think maybe if I might just go first this time.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, as with every new technology innovation, right? The truth is, at the start of everything, we hardly know what to do, and that's the truth, right? But and I think same thing with AI. But I think if there's one commonality around innovation and technology, it would be that from past experience, we know that it would not help to go hide in the corner of the room.
Yeah,
Or hide under
absolutely.
the table or under the bed.
Yeah.
I think from past experience has shown to us that the best way really to move forward is to grasp the bull by its horn.
Yes.
Is to
Be honest about the conversation.
be honest, get
Yeah.
involved,
Yeah.
give it a try, figure out the weaknesses, see how you can probably integrate it into your work to make you more productive. And as well as being honest, as you say, be about the weaknesses and trying to have a conversation about that and
Yeah.
to play a part in the crafting of the rules about where you should use AI and where should you not use AI. I think at the end of the day, it's really about embracing it and figure out we build out the plane as you go along. So to
Right.
speak.
Kalyan, because I mean, IBM obviously works very heavily in this space, and that we've talked about a lot of concerns behind it, and what Paul is saying, right? You have to have an honest conversation, have good people around it. How would the government then? I mean, is this where the AI Verify Foundation comes in? Because people are building it.
Right.
How do we regulate it? How do we ensure that what Paul is saying can come true?
Definitely. So AI Verify Foundation, there's some great work being done. But I think we also need to take perhaps a bit broader view of things.
Okay.
For example, whenever somebody publishes a new model, we can test it, fairness, robustness, etc.
Which is the foundation's work,
Foundation,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
But we also got to, I reckon we need to take a step back and start asking questions about how was this model created?
Okay.
And what was the data that was used to train it?
Okay.
And we should have access to both, so that we know that how was this model created, how was it trained, how does it perform, and how we tune it over a period of time. That entire cycle needs to be a lot more transparent, a lot more governed, so that we know what are we using, why are we using it, and how will it behave, right? So this entire governance and risk management is, I think, an area that we should do a lot more work in.
Okay.
And the regulations, as well as guidance and policies, ought to address this a lot more explicitly.
Right.
But there's a lot more embedded in the model itself. It's better to correct how it's built, how it's trained. The transparency is a lot more important these days.
So you're talking a little bit about the preventative
Yes.
measures in that sense. So
Right.
like the transparency right at the start. Do you think companies who are building these models, like every company, would be willing to be that transparent, or do you think it has to be enforced by legislation and regulation?
As an example, we are very transparent with our approach. We built our foundation models, and when we provide a foundation model to a customer, we provide them the data that we use for training it.
Oh, excellent.
So that way they know how was it trained, what was it trained
Yeah.
on, and does it have any copyright issues, etc. So we are very focused on AI for businesses. That's the reason why we built that value chain from the perspective.
Okay.
But from government perspective, we need policies and frameworks to encourage this for enterprises as well as for consumer content, right? I think that's where I think we could do more. And it can't be Singapore alone, because a lot of these models gets built outside Singapore.
Yes, of
so
course.
There's a need for international frameworks. We can start off, right?
Yeah.
But I think we need a broader framework, because as Paul was saying, it is one thing to, we got to educate people for sure, but we also got to educate the creators. Right.
So this needs a lot more kind of, like Interpol, this needs a lot more intergovernmental kind of. So I'm sure the government's listening out to this, and I'm sure they're already on it, and we need to be on it more.
Yeah.
I think that's why AI Verify is not just a single entity, but a cooperation of multiple partners and organizations as well.
I was just about to say, I hope we're not getting into trouble with all the things we're saying.
That's okay. I'll be the one who gets into trouble. Don't worry about it. That's fine. And then I'll just Tai Chi the trouble to my director, who is sitting right there, who is giving me side eyes, and maybe I should get on with the questioning and not. Okay, I mean, I was just going to ask another question that because we don't really want to anthropomorphize it and say AI as like they, but it, right? So I mean, it's easy to say that, right? To anthropomorphize it. Can we POFMA AI, like how we POFMA human beings?
I'll let the journalist answer the question.
This is when they go.
You got to bring in for every show, huh?
Hey man, what can I say? It's.
I think it's a bit more tricky with AI, right? Because there are nations in the world who have tried to do that, and you basically do that by, I think, from my observer point of view, two ways, right? Either by redacting the source material, or you're putting in additional measures to prevent the AI from giving certain answers. Now, there are flaws in both methods, I think. I think it's also been proven that time and again, if you put special controls to prevent the AI from saying certain things, they can be circumvented, they can be broken. So I think I would suggest to say that there's no easy way to do that. But I'll leave the expert to that.
Wow, Paul, you're very PR.
So I would say model hallucination is real.
Model?
Hallucination.
Hallucination.
So for example, there have been cases where
I've never heard that.
there's a couple of examples of, I won't name the product for not getting into trouble.
Okay.
There's a product, widely available product. A couple of lawyers went and asked it for case references. It created case references, and the lawyer went and submitted in the court. Then turns out those references do not exist.
Yes, I read about that.
Yeah, they don't exist.
Yes, they don't exist.
And the lawyer got sanctioned.
Yes.
So that is a real problem.
Okay.
Right? So now, how do you stop that? As the technology evolves, how do you ensure you get to a reliable answer? For example, I talked about knowing what data was used to train. That's one element to ensure it's clean. It's a clean path, if you will. The second thing is the techniques like, I'm not going to bore everybody using too many technical terms. I'm just going to stop with one. It's a model called RAG, where what we do is that whenever you answer a question, you show where the answer came from.
Okay.
Now, it gives you traceability. For example, yesterday I was at GovTech across. I was showing a demo of a chatbot that would help with healthcare questions. We asked a question about what should you do if you were affected by COVID. Not only did the bot answer the question, but I also pointed out where exactly the answer came from across the various Ministry of Health.
So it's the source of the answers.
That way you know where it came from, right?
Okay.
So we got to do more things like that.
Okay.
Right? So preventive measures like Paul talked about.
It's like substantiating your data.
Exactly.
Substantiating your answers.
But if you publish a paper, you always quote the source. Similar thing.
Okay.
Paul and I were chatting earlier. There's also a challenge of what is a good reference point?
Okay.
What is a reliable source?
Yes.
That also needs to be addressed in this equation. But I think there are enough techniques. I'm not saying it's 100%, not foolproof, but there are enough techniques that are available, but not used enough to prevent the dangers in the space.
Okay. So there's a lot more. I don't know. Like Kalyan, you look like, I feel like there is like, you're saying like there's really a lot more that we have to do. And and rightly so, because I guess as a CTO, you're at the front line of all this. I mean, you're seeing it happen and the problems that are emerging every day. And it's something that we have to take quite seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we can sit and joke about it, but obviously there are so many issues ahead of us that we have to. And I guess it starts from a regulatory framework. And that's also not that simple, because you're talking about cross-border building as well, right? And it seems to be hitting at the heart of addressing it to the creators.
Right.
Like a lot of this seems to be coming to us at that level, right?
Yeah.
What creators, what are they doing? Where do they get their data from?
Right.
This all sounds very familiar in the internet world.
Yeah.
But now you're taking it at another level.
Right.
Okay, so obviously a lot of issues around that. I want to talk a little bit about the crimes. How both of you, are y'all like crime stories, crime shows? Yes, maybe, not really. Okay,
Maybe
never mind.
crime?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, no, definitely you're not. You don't commit crime. I mean, just maybe like to watch.
I'm married to a person that loves crime
stories. Okay.
So by association,
yes, a great person to
I read
ask.
the crime section
Okay.
because I want to see what the latest scams so that I don't get scammed.
That's one way of looking at it. Okay, so speaking of that right now, so is it going to be harder to track crimes because of AI? Or can we talk a little bit about the preventative, right? Can you actually prevent crimes from happening? Now, this goes into a little bit of, if you watch the movie Minority Report, okay, so this goes into a little bit of that, right? Because if you can predict a crime that's going to happen by using AI, but is it really a crime because it hasn't actually happened yet?
Yeah.
So do we prosecute? I feel like this is a philosophical conversation that we're going to do now. Like put on your Socrates and Plato cap. So what do you think?
I think we're probably nowhere near that yet, because I think in terms of AI, there's really two aspects of it. There's generative AI, which came to light in November last year, and then there's traditional AI, which has been used for far longer to make predictions, right? So what you're saying is really what you call traditional AI, where you take all the data points, what you have done, what have you not done, where you studied, where you live, and then try to predict, are you susceptible to committing crime? If you are, and it's a serious one, lock you up first. Thankfully, I don't see it coming so soon.
Yeah.
I'm not saying never, but I think there's just too many data points right now, right? Though I know some places they try to profile citizens that way, or even at the airport, But
that's also profiling and biases in that sense.
That is
right. Yeah.
That
I
is
suppose so.
right.
Yeah.
Why would the officer check you?
Yeah, and not somebody else, right?
You, right?
Correct. Human biases.
But the truth is, I was at I think at the airport recently on the way back home, and it was a bit crowded.
Do you get checked?
A bit jammed.
Okay.
So there was to go through the machine for the scanning, right? So the officer came and said, okay, you and you step here and just walk past without going through the machine.
Right.
Then I saw another person that was asked to go through the machine. I was like, why me? Why don't I have to go through the machine?
Right.
Because, but that was it, right? Because all of us have an inherent bias.
Yes, absolutely.
And that can't be avoided. But I think the danger is when we industrialize it.
Correct.
We pack it into a machine and we scale it, into the millions. Now that becomes a problem, and that's where the bias that we talk about becomes amplified all the time.
Yeah, that's actually also very dangerous, as we can see around the world, the biases with law enforcement, right? I mean, we won't say which country and where, but we all know, and that is it's terrible, right? And it's brought along a lot of, people have suffered for many centuries because of that as well. Right. So, I mean, that's something that, like you said, if we put it into a machine and that becomes on a grander scale, it will affect a lot of decisions that will be rolled out in so many spaces, right?
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
If I may just add a couple of things to the conversation. How do we use AI to get better outcomes is one perspective. The second perspective is the values and the philosophy conversation you talked about.
Yes.
I would make the case for we should use the AI to make better positioning of assets. For example, if we historically based on data, if you're able to predict what is the likely location of a crime, you could position assets there.
Okay.
Right. That's a good way to deploy.
Okay.
But do we prosecute intent That's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah,
right?
that's a entire different conversation for a different show. Yes. No, but it's true. I mean, these are. I mean, that's what film does, right? Film also makes us think
Yeah.
about these issues and these things, and a lot of the things that we're talking about today, some of the things have been dealt with in film, in science fiction, and these are some of our realities that we
Right.
have to face. So you're right. I mean, how do we complement it? So if we know and we can predict that crime might happen in this area, like you said, bring your law enforcement there.
Yeah.
So that's why the human element is still
Absolutely.
really, really powerful and very important. Okay, so let's talk a bit about like, will AI make us lazier? I feel like actually the answer is no, because I feel like Kalyan has so much work that he's doing. I feel like AI has actually made you busier because, like you said, now AI can train AI,
Yeah.
and it's not actually making things easier for you, right? Because there's so many more things that you have to focus
I have
on.
an interesting
Wow.
study I can share.
Sure.
We, for example, use AI for detecting defects in manufactured elements, for example, display panels, etc. And a well-trained human being has a high level of accuracy.
Okay.
And similarly, we train AI models to do similar things. We attain significantly high accuracy as well. So the choice of deployment was to deploy the two technologies together.
Okay.
What was interesting is that this is not going to sound good, but this is something we need to deal with. The accuracy of the human being with AI in place dropped.
Oh.
Because in some ways, that's a crutch.
Ah.
Now I've got a crutch.
You-
Kalyan will
right,
detect anyway.
right.
So
It'll detect it anyway. I don't
Yeah.
have to be so.
we actually, that was an interesting study. It
Wow.
dropped.
Oh.
So similarly, for example, when you classify spam in email, we generally have come to rely on it, right?
Yes.
We trust spam is spam. You don't have to go and check, right? By times, good things do end up in spam also.
Yeah, that's why they always say check your spam.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in that sense, this is a problem that we have to deal with.
The over reliance as
Yes.
a kind of
Yeah.
something kind of has got your back.
Right.
But it might not always have your back.
Yep.
Okay. Paul, what do you think?
I mean, it's like the handheld calculator, right? I mean, when I go through the homework with my daughter, she will say, "Hey, Dad, come and check." Guess what? I whip out my phone. I use the calculator to calculate, right? But why do I give her the same calculator to do the questions? And that's very simple because if it comes down to that, I could do the mental sums in my head because I've done it before, right? But for her, she needs to train herself on that. So
Yes.
I think I agree with you, right? That AI can become a crutch, and really it's a matter of good sense on when you want to use AI.
Yep.
Is it a complaint letter to somebody? Get it, just get it filed in 10 seconds flat with AI, right? But if you're writing something else, then you need to consider how you want to use AI. Maybe more as a spell checker, maybe more as an idea generator, rather than writing it wholesale for you.
Right. And also, you don't want to be so reliant on it to a point where you don't know whether it is now we can look at that AI essay or whatever it is that's churned out and say,
Yeah.
no, actually it is not. Because I watched this video, right, and I saw a whole bunch of people of different professions when ChatGPT first came out, right, and generative AI, and all the professions said, oh no, AI can't do my job better than me because of whatever reason. But if you don't know what is good,
Yeah.
you won't know what is bad, right? So you've got to be able, like you said, to do the mental sums first and know what it is. Then you know, oh, this is right or this is wrong.
But having said that, the data and history has proven, right, that we always tend towards laziness.
Oh,
But
I don't know.
that's
Speak
life.
for yourself.
That's life.
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah.
I mean, that's life, right? But I would suggest to you, right, if you find yourself using AI more and more in your job and the results is satisfactory, then you should be really, really worried,
Okay.
right? Because if AI can replace 90% of your work and your boss didn't even notice, maybe your boss can fire you and he won't even notice.
Right. I mean, he'll know that he fired you, but
And
he
he'll save the
won't-
money, right?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we need
But
to
because if it can do your job, it can do your job in another company. So even if you can, you know what I mean? So if you get fired, even if your boss doesn't know that it's because of AI, the other company might know.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not going to be able
So
to.
I would suggest that rather than use it as a clutch, right, to proactively use AI to improve productivity, and in areas where it seems to be doing really well, right, maybe you need to increase the skill sets that you have. develop new capabilities, develop new knowledge, go for classes, develop yourself in other areas to build other skills.
Absolutely. I think what's really important is to develop that critical thinking muscle
Yeah.
on when to be skeptical, how to leverage the technology. I think that's going to be really, really critical, because what Paul called out is that ability to assess the situation, make good choices. Critical thinking becomes really important.
Right.
Happens to be a part of skills future.
It happens to be a
Part of the skills future.
oh, part of the
This is
skill.
the third mention.
I feel like this is, I don't know, was I not told that this is like kind of, I don't know, you guys are linked to, I don't know, you're getting paid for this?
No, I wasn't in to disclose my bias. I was one of the SMEs that participated in creating the frameworks. So I do have a soft
So
spot.
we have to thank
That's
you
the
for
bias
skills
there.
future. yeah. So you see, that's the bias we're talking about. No, but it's true. I mean, I guess it's how do we, as human beings, we still, have that discernment
Yeah.
to be able to tell what is good, what is right, what is wrong. And that's why we have to focus, right? So I mean, in another episode, I have asked people, what are some of the skills that are going to be valued in the future? I think I want to know, besides skills, what are some of the things, whether it's characteristics, whether it's what do we need that's going to be really, really valued in the future? And the conversation seems to come back to a lot to values.
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
I think there's something about human insight, right? I mean, we know ChatGPT is really good for writing taglines and summarizing, but the summaries might come across as really boring, right?
Yeah.
So as a human, you could ask you to generate 10 samples. You say, you know what, this works, that part work. Let's combine together and let's try again, right? Or you can use it as a basis to basically create a better title. So I think at the end of the day, it's really about using it as a tool, not as a clutch.
Okay. Kalyan, what do you think?
I think, I'm taking a slightly broader view to build on what Paul said. I think we need to start educating our kids in schools, universities, a lot more about ethics, values,
Yes.
and because that is going to be significantly important as you go into making this,
Absolutely.
right? So what is ethical is both a point of time decision in some ways,
A point of time decision.
because what was considered ethical, say,
Yes.
100 years back.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
So that one active thread I think we need to pursue. The second active thread is the value systems. How do you make decisions? Critical reasoning, thinking. I think those need to be really stepped up.
Okay.
That's what I would call for. In addition to once you have those skills, we can do whatever Paul just talked about effectively. Being able to discern, as you said, where it makes sense, where it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
What should I trust? What
Yeah.
should I trust, and so on.
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to add in also that like compassion is so important. The idea of be able to have empathy for people, be able to understand, because that's then right?
Yeah.
That, there is biases in this area because this ethnic group or this gender is not being looked after and not being
Right.
talked about enough or whatever it is. So absolutely, I mean, I totally agree in the idea of the values and the ethics and educators out there, we're depending on you.
Yeah.
So do away with the PSL. Okay.
Too late for me.
It's good for you. Do you have a kid
Yeah,
who's going
just this
through
year.
Just this
There's
year?
another one,
Oh,
so
yeah, you're done
one
with
at a
that.
time.
So they always say that the parents take the PSLE as well. You would like AI to
I-
be able to replace your job for that?
I can kind of empathize with that.
Okay.
Right? So gotta
Yeah.
keep everyone calm.
Maybe in 5 years' time, it'll be a bot, right? Training your kids in PSLE because it'll be able to look at the past year questions. Oh my, I'm going into dangerous territory now. And be able to predict the questions for the next year. And then
And those peddlers on the past year papers can go out of job then.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
As a technologist, I have to say this: with enough data,
You'll be able to.
I'm sure we can do
Okay,
something
I'm
about it.
definitely going to get a call from MOE after this. Eunice, I don't think you should. Okay, all right, but you know what I mean. I mean, those are the things we have to think about, right? I mean, because that's why we, as human beings, we have to also look forward, right? And as we, you work with AI, you also have to be kind of one step ahead.
Yeah.
Is there a thing where you can be one step ahead of the AI model, Kalyan? Because I'm curious, right? I mean, I don't
Maybe
know.
Step ahead of the AI model.
Maybe I should defer that to the journalist, the futuristic journalist.
Oh no, I don't know what conversation I've gotten into now.
That's one step ahead of the AI.
Yes, one step ahead of
What do
the
you think
AI.
yourself?
What do I? Oh, thank you. Now they're asking me. I think we have to be. I mean, we have to find a way to do it. Like you said, even what you said just now, right? About going back to the creators, making sure that you're one step ahead in terms of the preventative measures.
Right.
So before you create, these are the things that you have to adhere to in order then to create your AI model. So in that way, you might not be able to be technically maybe better than the AI model, but in terms of these areas, right? Is that one way of looking at it? I just basically use whatever you said and answered your question. So that's my job.
Very nicely done.
Summary.
Very nicely done. I would say it's going to be a challenge to be ahead in the sense that, think about it this way, right? Let's say a year and a half back, what was in our heads as the realm of possibilities was different from what is possible today,
Yeah.
right? So in that sense, it's about being aware of what is changing, how it is changing,
Okay.
and asking ourselves the questions about how can I use this purposefully? What are the risks involved? What are the dangers involved? My view is that it's a constantly evolving space. So it's not something that I would say we should have the framework to stay ahead, which is what is important because we don't know how things are going to evolve necessarily all the time, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing I will call for. The second thing I also will call for is having a lot more open conversations.
Okay.
When you have a conversation, the risks that we see might be different from the risks you see,
Yes.
right? So I think there's a lot more collaboration, a lot more interaction that needs to happen in the society.
Absolutely. I mean, I see that a lot from the media and the gender perspective as well, and how AI systems will be very much affected if there's no, again, like who trains the data, right? And who inputs the data, right? Who trains the model, rather. So I mean, I think that's really going to be very important. So, and I know that IABM hires a lot of women, so yay.
Yes,
I know
we do.
you'll have a very strong STEM policy, so yay. And you have a daughter?
2 daughters.
2 daughters, so and that's what they say, like men who have daughters tend to be more kind of feminist and
Really?
yes, and very concerned, right? About, because we don't want to tell our children that, hey, or the girls that, hey, you can be strong, you can do everything, and then when they go out into the world, and then they get punished by AI, right? In that sense. So I mean, definitely so much. And I mean, I know we've had this conversation and we've had tons of laugh and around it, and we've also had tons of very serious issues that have come up. What about just anyone listening in, who has maybe not thought about AI, and after listening to these 2 very refined and learned gentlemen, who have been so steeped in the space, if they want to learn about it, how do they even start? Like, it's just get ChatGPT, or how do you find out more about whether it can help you with your job? Like, where does one start?
I think it's pretty easy, right? Just as you say, just get a ChatGPT account. It's free. The basic one is free.
Yeah.
Give it a try, because I think from what I observe, when I talk to different friends, some are all the way in, right, in AI, but there are actually surprisingly a lot of friends who either have not tried it, or they try it for 5 minutes and say, it's lousy, and then they shut it off, right?
Right.
But I would suggest they spend a bit more time, and I think the interesting thing about ChatGPT, right, and generative AI in general is one of those tools that you kind of get better. You learn as you use it.
Yeah.
But you don't really need an instruction manual. Just start typing stuff in, giving it a try. If you need to read around on the social media to see what some of the the prompts that people are using. But I would say don't get discouraged if you see those prompts that by various influencers who seem to be so good at AI. Don't be discouraged.
Don't be intimidated.
The truth is, you don't need to use AI at that level, right? You just need to have some rudimentary understanding. Give it a try, give it a practice, and see how you can apply it to improve your productivity, and let's get moving from there.
Yeah, the first thing I did when ChatGPT came out is like, will AI replace, because I do oral communications training as well, oral communication trainer, and I'm very happy to say that it's not going to be completely replaced, which is true. It's how it's going to complement us, right? How are we going to use AI technology to better what we're doing, to better understanding of the world, to better what we do as a job as well, right? Because in fact, it can help us. Right, all the knowledge that you need that you've had to digest over years, it can do in a split second. Right, so it can help you be better.
If I may add one thing, right? I mean, we talk about creativity, we talk about intuition, about these are the things that AI cannot replace. But if you think about it, right, the average person is so busy in their work, they have no time to be creative, they have no time to sit back and reflect.
Yes, absolutely.
And-
because you're so steeped in just trying to,
Right, you're just
earn
doing
a
the
living.
repetition
Yeah.
stuff to put
Yeah,
food
yeah.
on the table.
yeah.
And I would suggest that maybe it might be time to make some time, right, before AI replaces your job, to find some time to improve, to practice your creativity, to get better at the things that AI can never do,
Yeah.
to increase your value.
And I think that's a very good point, Paul, because I think a lot of people are just so busy just trying to earn a living, and they might think like maybe it doesn't affect me. But I would like to think that AI actually can level the playing field.
Yeah.
So if, like you said, if you spend some time on it, before you know it, maybe you would be better at AI than a lot of other people, and then that could give you an opportunity there as well, because the technology is so easily accessible, right? I mean, you can just go and just get ChatGPT straight away.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think it's almost, you don't even realize how it can help you if
Right.
you don't try it out.
But I'll add a couple of things to what Paul shared. I think we also got to have a plane of visibility and clarity on what is possible.
Okay.
Well, so for example, we publish a series of generative AI guides for C-level audiences, which is a good way to understand what's in the realm of possibilities, what are the challenges, what are the paths forward for embracing and implementing this technology.
Okay.
So that gives you a good macro view of what is possible. So that's one thing I would say. The second thing is definitely try out the technologies. But the third thing, equally importantly, I think, going back to the notion of creators, it's not about ChatGPT can answer a question, that's great. But what is that? How can you use this technology, not necessarily GPT only, how can you use this kind of technologies to do better in your daily job? What can you create, right? Building on what Paul said. It's about all of us have to bring value, which means we have to be a creator in some way or the other.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part. Critical thinking, reasoning, figure out what's your value prop.
This is a conversation we're going to have after the show. Is what is my value proposition? I feel like that's an interview question that you have to figure out anyway, right? I mean, not just with AI, but just, I guess, in general.
Absolutely.
Right? So, I mean, thank you for that. I think there's so much that people can do and so much that people can see. So, do we accelerate its growth or do we minimize its impact on society? Because I feel like there are so many issues that are going to start coming, and
Yes.
Kalyan, I feel like you have an answer for me right there.
I would say absolutely double down. We should need to double down on adopting this technology.
You have to double down on
adopting this
adopting
technology.
that technology.
We should definitely get better. We should
Okay.
be more productive using this. I think as we do that, we also have to be careful about the various things we talked about earlier.
Yes.
So I always say be cautiously optimistic, invest, build your skills, figure out where to apply, but start applying in a very purposeful, conscious manner.
Okay. And is there a place that we can get some of these guidelines from?
The C-level series I just mentioned.
IBM has
with
a little bit
the
of that.
guidance
Okay.
on what is possible, what are the gotchas, what you should watch
Okay.
out for. So that's
And
where
this can apply to everybody can read
Yes.
it, and okay.
Yes.
So that's a good place to start, right? What are the challenges? I mean, it's kind of like what we talked about before, having that honest conversation to the idea of AI.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. I mean, you've obviously brought so much value to the show. We've had no glitches at all. Pardon the pun. It was completely intentional. But but thank you so much. And I'm sure that if we speak about this again in 6 months, it's going to be a different conversation.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Right?
That's
And
right.
it's going to
I
keep
think so.
evolving,
Yeah.
and we'll have
Yeah.
more problems, but that's a problem for another day.
Opportunities and problems.
Opportunities
And problems.
That's what life is all about.
Yeah.
And you've just, this is a very
They
philosophical
say
conversation,
life
I
is
feel.
risk, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Life is risk, opportunities and problems,
Yeah.
and value proposition. And I've said all the important things that we have to say, all the good words that we have to say in this conversation. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thanks for being on Glitch.
Thank you.
thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you.